All right, guys, what's up? I think today is going to be another useless. I think today is going to be another useful video for you. It may be useless depending on who you are. I don't know. I don't know your life story, but if you've ever been doing something and maybe you're new to something and you try to play somebody or compete against somebody who has been doing it for a long time or somebody who's really high skilled, you may think, I don't even know what's happening. They're literally cheating. They're using magic. I don't know, but they can just beat me and I can't do anything about it. Okay. And a lot of those times you may think that like fundamentally you can't become that way because they must just be different. Their brain must just work different from mine, whatever. Well, I'm here to tell you that's not true. And yeah, I'm going to show you how I believe that this happens and yeah, how you can do it too, basically. So today we're going to talk about how to win effortlessly. Okay. So first up, people who are very skilled at whatever they do, people who are at the very highest level or in the top tier of whatever they do, they make everything seem very simple, very easy. And when you watch them, it looks like they're not even trying to win. They just make it look so simple, right? So this is what I would call winning effortlessly. So this is the point where you want to get, because honestly, this is like mastery of your skill, right? When everything starts to become effortless and looks effortless. And honestly, for the person doing it, it kind of is effortless at that point. So next up, you have to understand though, it was never actually effortless, okay? At this moment in time, when it occurs and when you watch them, it looks effortless and it feels effortless for both parties maybe, but you have to remember that the effort was all front-loaded. You have to remember that it's years and years of accumulated effort that led them to this point. So if you want to reach this point, first thing you need to do, get out of your head that it's going to come quickly and get out of your head that it's not going to take effort to reach this point. Because reaching this point of effortless actually requires probably a lot more effort than you would believe to get there, okay? And this is why people, want to think, oh, I can't do it. It's almost like an excuse for them because they don't want to put in the amount of effort it would actually take to reach this point. So they often make excuses like, oh, you're just naturally talented. You're just good at it. That's just how your brain works, etc. But actually, it's really a difference between this. But when we do effort, or when we put effort into something, we want to make sure, we're using our effort efficiently and not wasting it, because there are people that put tons and tons and tons of effort into things and never actually improve. So yeah, we don't want to be like that. So yeah, if you want to know more about that, go watch my previous video about how you're learning backwards. I think that will help you a lot if you're putting in a lot of effort but you're not improving. Anyways, one thing you have to remember about this effort, a lot of this effort I'm talking about is actually very mundane, not overly challenging things, but things that might seem, a little boring, might feel boring. Obviously you're going to go through waves. Some days it may be super interesting what you're learning, and some days it may be really boring, but you have to push through this level of kind of boringness and like very low dopaminergic activities. You have to push through these times if you want to eventually get to the effortless, okay? So again, this is another way that people front-loading effort, because when other people, instead of actually focusing on their skill and really grinding every day and really putting their all into it, even when it feels boring, they often go and doing something else, and that's why they never reach this point here, okay? So you have to remember, you're not actually doing anything crazy to reach this, okay? All you're doing is pretty mundane things just over a very long period of time, okay? Spread out over not days, weeks, or months, not even days, weeks, or months, but actually years of effort to reach this really high efficiency level. Okay, so yeah, regarding this daily mundane information, what's the information we're looking for? Well, we're looking for I+1 information. You're going to see this in like language learning, but I also believe this is true for any skill you're learning, just in my experience. So basically, you're just going to stack up I+1 information. If you don't know what I+1 information is, again, in my previous video, I talk about it more, but it's basically information that's just outside of what you already know. Okay, So you're trying to pick up just the little piece of information that's beyond your current limit of knowledge, okay? Because those are the pieces of information that your brain is primed and ready to grab and then implement into your game. So this is the kind of information that you need. So you need to find some kind of source of this information, okay? And how do you know what this information is for yourself? Well, it's really simple. All you have to do is actually do your activity a lot. So whatever skill you're trying to do, actually do it as much as you can. And then you have to mentally engage while you're doing it and notice the points where you're making mistakes or you feel like you're lost and you don't know what to do. Okay, so up until a certain point, you're gonna feel like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I've seen this before. This makes sense. Then you're gonna hit a point and think, I don't know what to do. Okay, those are your I+1 areas. Those are the pieces of information you want to grab. And you just want to grab a little piece of information past what you already know. Keep in mind, at the beginning of your skill, there's going to be so much information that you don't know. So it's important not to try to learn everything. Okay, so how do we know what to actually learn and what's important to learn? Well, it's the positions or the situations that you notice popping up over and over and over again. And suddenly you're remembering, oh, this position, oh, this situation, oh, this thing again. Those are the points. Sorry, it's getting a little cold in my room. Turn on the heater. Those are the points where you want to go and try to find contextual information, okay? Try to find information about those points. When you're just starting, you can't do everything. The better you get, the higher you get, the closer you get to this, the more this information becomes very nuanced, very small, and harder to find, okay? So once you get to that, point, it's very obvious what you need to add, but at the beginning, you may not be sure because there's so much information. So keep that in mind. Things that pop up over and over and over again are what you really want to add. Okay, next up. So people that eventually reach this point, they also have their pacing down, okay? So they're working every day. Every day, they may take a day off here and there, but I would say in general, they're working every day, but they're varying the intensity. Okay, you can't go the same level of intensity every single day because you will burn out. I promise you 100%. And I see too many people starting with a very high level of intensity at the beginning because they really want to be this. Like they see somebody do it and they think, whoa, I want to do that. So they go crazy and go really hard on the intensity at the beginning and then burn out. You don't want to do that. You kind of have to follow the ebbs and flows. Okay, you have to listen to yourself, know when there's just too much friction today. I can't learn a lot. So lower the friction a bit, do something a little more enjoyable. Instead of sitting down and like studying, maybe watch some YouTube videos about what you're doing. Maybe watch some competition videos. Maybe watch your favorite player playing the game if it's a video game or whatever it is you want to do. Okay, so you have to know when to vary the intensity, but you should be touching the subject. You should be involved in the subject as much as possible, okay? So, on most days, you're going to want to do, pretty good level of intensity, at least like 2, 3, 4 days a week. And then on the other days, maybe pull it back a little bit. I usually just go based on how I feel because I've learned, many skills in the past. So I kind of know how much I can handle and what my interest level is for a certain skill and like how, what that actually equates to, how much I should be doing, how that actually equates to how much I should be doing based on my interest level and my motivation for that skill. All right, next up. So yeah, getting to this point, it depends on what you're doing. It may be a physical effort too, like getting strong and things like that. But really, it's going to be a mental effort of constantly trying to get this information, okay? The second you stop trying to get this information and you just do whatever you're doing without actually challenging your beliefs or thinking deeper, you're going to stop improving, which is why you see people putting in what they perceive as a ton of effort because they're doing their skill every day, but they're not actually going out of their way to find this information and apply it to the next time they're doing their skill. So you have to remember that this whole process, the years and years, really at its core, it's a mental effort to stay engaged in the subject and constantly be trying to update your information, constantly trying to stack information that's just outside of your range of knowledge, okay? And you have to understand that in order to do this, you can't be stubborn in what you're thinking. Because sometimes when you first start, you think things are a certain way and you find out that they're actually the exact opposite. Or maybe you were on the right track, but you're not totally there. You need more nuanced information. So the second you 100% believe that you're correct is the second that you kind of stop being open to adding this new information. So we need to be in like a mind frame where we're open to adding information at all times, and we're open to changing our previously held values. Okay. So if you're not open to changing that, then I encourage you to think deep within yourself of why you're so stubborn to change and why you're so resistant to change. Is it like, oh, I feel like I'm stupid because I can't figure this all out for myself? Or maybe it's some other reason deep inside, but I challenge you to kind of go down that line of thinking, like, why am I so stubborn to changing? Why do I want to feel like I know what's going on? Because the truth is, guys, we really don't know what's going on most of the time. Maybe even, you're not always going to have 100% the right answer, okay? But what you have to do is the best you can, okay? Find the most highly qualified person to get the information from that you can find, and try to use that information and apply it. That's the best advice I can give you. Okay, next piece of advice, and things that people get here do. People that get to this point do. They build slowly but surely. They know it's a long race. They're in it for the long haul. They know that pushing too hard at the beginning and burning out isn't going to work. They know that not doing enough, even if you do it over a long period of time, only doing like a very small amount, they know that that's not enough. Okay, they know how to find the pacing and the balance, and they build up slowly but surely, never stopping, always adding new information. Okay. Yeah, and one thing I want to emphasize one more time is that you actually have to be doing your skill. You can't just be learning. You have to be learning and applying. And again, we're learning efficient information. We're learning contextual information about our skill. We're not just learning random things. Again, some days, on days where it's really difficult and you feel like you have a friction, maybe you just want to learn something random. Maybe you just want to enjoy the skill. Okay, maybe you just want to go and, watch content about your skill. That's fine. You can do that. Okay, but you can't do that every day. Okay, I wouldn't recommend doing that. You can, but again, the biggest gains are going to come when you're specifically seeking out the contextual information about your limits of knowledge and your bottlenecks. Okay. All right, so I think that was a pretty good explanation of this side. If you have any questions on that, definitely let me know. Okay, so when you do this over years and years, eventually you've got so many little pieces of knowledge adding on, that you have enough nuanced information in your brain, and you've tried to apply it so many times that it's kind of become subconscious information. You don't even have to think that hard to pull that information out, right? Your body just knows what to do. Your mind just knows what to do. You get like a feel for what you should do because it's worked its way into your subconscious. All of this information that you slowly gain contextually over time at a reasonable pace. Eventually it works its way into your subconscious, and you don't actually have to think that hard. When you play against somebody who's a new player or even like a medium level player, you can pretty much effortlessly beat them because honestly, they make so many mistakes. It's so clear to you, the mistakes they're making. It's, clear to you that they have a shallow understanding. And they just become toys. They literally become toys. They become easy to beat. I mean, it sounds terrible, but you get into this effortless mode here. And you become so good and you have so much more knowledge that you've slowly built up over time than new players or medium level players, even people who've been doing it for a long time but haven't been efficiently learning, that they literally think that what you're doing is like magic. Okay, they just can't perceive what's happening because they don't have this level of nuance of their skill that they built up over time. They just can't perceive what you're doing. They can't perceive the mistakes they're making. Okay, they're probably convinced in their head that they're doing things correctly. Okay, they may even say you're just getting lucky. That's something you hear a lot, especially in video games. They say you're just lucky, or I'm off today. I'm just not playing well today. They tend to make excuses for themselves, again, because they're stuck in their previously held beliefs. They don't want to let go of their previously held beliefs. So, it's important not to become that person. it's important to understand that you can become that way. They weren't lucky. The people that achieve this, they weren't lucky. They may have some level of talent, but I promise you that everybody can do it. If they have the interest, everyone can do it. I truly believe that. It's more about just having the right method to doing it. Because when I was younger, I tried to learn things and I had a terrible method, right? And it took me a really long time to get better at things. And then every time I learned something new, I kind of refined my method over and over and over again. And now I'm at the point where I feel like no matter what I want to learn, I know I can do it because I have my method and I know I can put in the time if it's something I'm interested in. Okay, that's something else. You have to be interested in what you're doing. If you're not interested in what you're doing, this is not going to work. Okay, I'm just going to put that out there from the beginning. So yeah, people, I'll read it one more time. Eventually, enough nuanced information is packed into your brain and subconscious that low and medium skilled people can't perceive what's happening. Okay? And that's when you get into these kind of things that people will say to you. Wow, you must be naturally talented. My brain just doesn't work like that. How do you beat me every time? You're cheating. You're just getting lucky. Things like that. And that's when you know you've reached some level of mastery, is when you can really make things look effortless. So I hope this was a good explanation for how to do it. And I really recommend that you pick something in your life and get to this level because it's very rewarding. You build a lot of confidence. People with open minds and people that are interested in improving, you can become great friends with them. And yeah, generally people that are really open to improving and receiving information are great people to be around in general. And yeah, those can be some of the best relationships that you build. So I think there's a lot of benefits to doing this. But yeah, I hope this helped you guys. If you have any questions or there's anything you want me to talk about, please leave them in the comments. Have a great day.